Nintendo recently released Mario 35, a 35-player battle royale Mario platformer that's exclusive to the members of the Nintendo Switch online subscription. And that's awesome. But as it follows in the footsteps of Tetris 99 of a new free exclusive online service experience, it begs the question both of how Nintendo views these kinds of experiences and also what's next. Let's talk about it. In case it's not obvious, the reason Nintendo would care about bolstering their online subscription offerings at all is pretty simple. There's just different money to be made between selling products or selling services. Selling products like a Switch and other hardware, or games and software, is all about continually appealing to new audiences to buy in, whether to buying a Switch at all, or to the next game, whether big or small. But selling services is consistent revenue, usually at a lower cost per person, but applies to a larger audience than any one product might. This way, if Nintendo really builds up their online subscription base to say 30 million, then they can just about count on $20 a year from each of them, which is an easy $600 million. Obviously, some have family plans, some do monthly, but you get the picture. And this is a strategic safety net for them if they end up having a lighter year of heavy-hitting releases. I doubt most people would actually cancel their subscription at just $20, so it's a service that's worth investing in for them. And Nintendo may not have invested in it the way we all wanted, which is something I've talked about in other videos, but they absolutely are making decisions to make that $20 a year worth its price tag for a majority of people. Whether it's worth it for you specifically or not, that's maybe a different story. As a quick overview, here are some of the various pieces of the service. Firstly, it's required to play a lot of the online games at all. There are tons of games that use this online service, but definitely a few that push the user count on their own, which I'd say are mostly Smash Brothers, Pokemon, and Animal Crossing. Cloud saves are also tied to the online service, which is debatably good or bad, but that's the topic for another time. And then there's more than 60 online-enabled NES and SNES games that may not interest you, but for me personally, are most of why I spend the $20 a year. There's a few other bits and pieces that come with the service, but the one I want to really dive into is obviously the couple of exclusive games on offer. This started in February of 2019 with Tetris 99 and continued in October 2020 with Mario 35. And in the same way that most of my $20 is mentally going to the NES and SNES games access, and others it's for Animal Crossing exclusively, like my wife, there are many people for whom their subscription is largely due to their interest in one of these exclusive games, which I think Nintendo can and likely will continue to lean into. Starting with Tetris 99, this certainly isn't the first time Tetris has been seen in multiplayer, nor will it be the last. But as Tetris was so intricately associated with Nintendo in its early days, it just made sense to have this pick up and play game as a battle royale on a Nintendo service. It's a game that a lot of people still enjoy to this day, and I even remember hearing it was in the running for a lot of people's Game of the Year for 2019. And next came Mario 35, which is pretty much Mario Bros. 1 with the same treatment. It's also not the first time we've seen Mario in multiplayer, but other than a DMCA'd fan game from last year, this is definitely the first time we've seen it with this many players. The premise is that you're playing the classic Mario gameplay, but as you defeat enemies, they're sent to the screens of your actual enemies, who are the dozens of opponents playing alongside you with a race to be the last Mario standing. But here is the weird caveat we all probably know with Mario 35. Since it's a tool to celebrate the 35th anniversary of Mario, it's only going to be live through the end of Nintendo's fiscal year, March 31st, 2021. Obviously, this has left a lot of us frustrated or at least perplexed, but this end date could be the crux to our understanding of their plans moving forward. A couple of options of what could happen are either the game is just taken down and that's it, or otherwise, the arbitrary number of 35 players could be updated since it doesn't make any sense anymore outside of the 35th anniversary, and maybe it'll turn into Mario 64 or Mario 99 or something else, you know. Or finally, it could be that this is the beginning of the resurgence of a service inspired by something Nintendo pioneered decades ago with the Satellaview. Now, if you don't know, the Satellaview in short was a piece of hardware based around the Super Famicom with a receiver for a satellite connection. During specific broadcasts, Nintendo would then basically stream a game to all Satellaview owners to either play brand new games or remixes of pre-existing games. Of course, the service didn't work great in the market of the time and died out in 2000 after being on the market since 1995. But when looking at Mario 35 and its expiration date, it'll of course have been available for much longer than any of the individual Satellaview games, but it's a similar concept of remixing existing games for new experiences for a limited window of time. And for all these reasons, I do expect we'll see a version of this Mario Battle Royale again after March 31st, but whether that's immediately or further down the road, it's hard to say. So this brings us to the second half of this topic. What other games or franchises would make for good Nintendo Switch Online exclusive experiences? Well, of course, they would have to be online games, but there are certainly other games that could easily fit into that Battle Royale framework. For example, top-down Zelda would be fitting as it's also the 35th anniversary of Zelda next year, and it fits into the same ideology of Mario and Tetris of being easy to start, but harder to master. From your first time playing, surviving a minute or two in any of these games is pretty manageable, but getting a first place truly feels like an achievement. On top of the 35th anniversary, the Zelda concept would be an especially fitting one as it was a staple of the Satellaview. It's really easy to keep the same core design, but essentially do what the speedrunning community has been doing for years and implement a sort of randomizer. This means that everyone gets the same version of Zelda, but anywhere an item is stored can be randomized to pull any of the other items within reason, depending on how you code it. So everyone could get really strong items from the beginning, or weaker ones, always keeping you on your toes. And if 35 players all get this same slightly randomized item drop template, and the map, screens, and enemy selections could even be moved around per game, then it would just be a race to be the last man standing or the first to complete 3 temples or something. There's a lot of routes this could go, but the game is perfectly primed for this kind of experience next year. Another that I've thought would work really well is a very large balloon fight battle royale. Here I envision 99 players on the same very large map, but each game is structured a little more like Fall Guys. So there are several rounds during which the first would eliminate down to 60 players, then 40, then 20, 10, 5, and you finish up as number 1. But to keep it interesting, each round also has its own aesthetics and special rules that make it more like a mini game than just a new round of balloon fight, with various power-ups and collectibles all over the map that help decide ties and so on. What I think is interesting about this whole idea is that sometimes it would be the franchise drawing the bulk of the attention, like Tetris, Mario, or Zelda. But if the games themselves are fun enough, it could really be a situation where one of the lesser-known IPs are used in a unique way to elevate both the service and itself as a franchise. And this is where I think Nintendo could also bring some of their attention away from their mobile development and to this service instead. Of course, we've heard various reports that they will be moving away from mobile development and others that they're not going to. But there's no argument that their mobile efforts have just not been all juggernauts like they may have hoped. Surely, some have attracted a lot of attention, and a few have been helpful to introduce folks to their major IPs, like Animal Crossing Pocket Camp and Fire Emblem Heroes, and Mario Kart Tour seems to continue to do well. But since the mobile Dr. Mario never performed very well, for example, why not use that IP as an online exclusive game? It could be the Battle Royale format, or another multiplayer format, or even just the mobile game, but within the Switch ecosystem, and maybe a little less predatory. I could also say the same for Dragalia Lost. It's an official Nintendo IP that has only been a mobile game that's been moderately successful, but could stand to expand as a way to promote both the IP in both directions and help the online service if the game is worthwhile. All in all, what I expect to see going forward for the exclusive offerings on Switch Online is a growing and more diverse cast of games that may not all be available at the same time, but will probably return in a Disney Vault-like service, which, in all fairness, is bad practice for a product, but in something like this as a service actually kind of makes sense. If, for example, they had Tetris 99, Mario 35, Zelda 35, Balloon Battle, Dr. Mario Online, Metroid 365, Jiralia Lost Versus, and Donkey Kong Race to the Future all on the service at the same time, there's a good chance that instead of being able to drop in and out of games within 10 seconds of each of those services, some of them would be dead while others would thrive, instead of all being funneled into a couple at a time. The rotation style also helps keep up the hype for the service because, in the end, it'll garner more community excitement for Mario 35 to come back after 6 months than for it to just still be there, which also helps their bottom line. I haven't mentioned a lot of other exclusive offerings, but I do think we'll continue seeing exclusive opportunities like we have with their online game trials, where subscribers can download all of Mario Tennis Aces for a specific weekend and try it out, for example. And there are also endless possibilities with demos that are exclusive to the online service, or really anything like this that's an extra experience that we wouldn't otherwise receive, but we feel like increases the value of this service that we've bought into. But that's what I think. What do you think? Do you think they're doing a good job with the Switch Online exclusives or not so much? And what would you hope to see as some kind of Switch Online exclusive? Let me know all that and more in the comment section down below. And while you're down there, be sure to like the video and subscribe to fanatixfour for more videos like this every Tuesday and Thursday. And yeah, also we've got a podcast. You can check that out on youtube.com/directly to you. Otherwise, see you next week. Thanks very much.